So my name is Wesley Chang. I'm the founder and executive director for Televisit, a nonprofit, and love to share with you some things that we've been doing with the wonderful grant that we received. So our objectives were to mitigate isolation and loneliness, and our philosophy is to host and facilitate group activities to make sure that folks are getting together and gelling as a group. We decided to use standard Android tablets. We've been doing this for about 8 years in a way that there is no need to learn the technology. The second objective was actually a discussion on Asian hate, which was a big issue and I think continues to be a big issue in San Francisco. So we decided to work with a segment of the population that's very vulnerable, that's quite invisible, to allow them to share their stories, learn how to report hate crimes, and to talk to friends and family about some of the issues. So in terms of the devices, we selected the Alcatel Android tablets. With the funding that we received, we were able to purchase 20 of the tablets for $75 each. And then for the internet, we decided to go with T-Mobile, which is integrated into the tablet, so there's no separate hotspot. And the data plan, I told T-Mobile, given my budget, I could only pay $10 a month. And so for $10, I get 2 gigabytes, which essentially is about 2 hours of Zoom video conferencing. So you get the challenge. We had to make sure that we very carefully managed the bandwidth. And so we did a lot of provisioning and testing and figured that we could do 2 short Zoom sessions per month where they could see each other, but the rest of the time they would be using our audio conferencing for videos and bingo, etc. We wanted to make sure there were no overage charges because that would blow our budget completely. And what we learned is that T-Mobile would throttle the bandwidth after reaching a cap, which will not affect anything that we're doing with Televisit because it's designed to work with very low bandwidth. The next thing is we had an intern from high school, and he decided to get a bunch of photo frames from IKEA for $4 each. And primarily the role of that is to prevent the user from accessing the Android controls. Our objective is not to teach them how to use the tablets, but to really present a universal communication device that they don't have to learn anything. It's simple to use as a phone. Finally, we discovered in order to update the app, because we had changes that we needed to push out, we selected a company called 42 Gears for mobile device management. And it cost us $3.59 per tablet per month. So one of the things we can do is we can translate these, what we call daily messages. Every day, the tablet wakes up automatically and provides a little friendly message to them. We put it in both English and Chinese as an opportunity for them to also learn English if they wanted to do so. So here's one example of it. We can put all kinds of messages about community events, or in the case, this was a few weeks ago when we were having a heat wave, a PSA to tell them what to do. This is the frame that my intern created. There it is, an IKEA frame for $4. We got a mat that we put on. You notice what it does is it covers up all the various controls, including the volume and power control, because that turned out over the last 8 years we've been doing this to cause the most tech support issues. The other reason is that in calling this a photo frame, they're not tempted to unplug it, which was also our other big tech support issue. With a tablet, there is always a temptation to unplug it, take it somewhere else, forget to plug it back in. It loses battery, tablet is dead, you can't run any activities at all. So those were some of the decisions we made with regards to the format. So the participants we got through an organization called Self-Help for the Elderly in San Francisco, who serves several hundred Chinese-speaking seniors. And the group that they specifically asked us to work with was their Toisan speaking seniors. Now, Toisan is this very specific dialect in China And most of the people who speak that dialect came from China to the US between 40 to 50 years ago. They're very vulnerable. Up till today, they haven't learned how to speak English. They don't really communicate, many of them, with their family members. And so they're really vulnerable and isolated. We divided them into two groups. The first one is 9 participants who actually live together in the same senior housing. However, they don't really know each other because they don't have congregate meals or activities going on there. So this was actually a good opportunity for them to know each other. We went up to San Francisco. We actually had an orientation where we taught all of them. We didn't actually have to teach all of them to use the tablets because it's basically, you don't have to learn anything. We basically put it in front of them, ran a couple of programs, including bingo. They really got into bingo. We wanted to just do a quick demo of bingo. And they said, no, you're going to let us finish the game until there's a winner. So we did. We allowed them to finish the game. The second group, a slightly smaller group, and we're going to continue recruiting. These are people who live in their own homes in San Francisco, so not within the same place, definitely do not know each other. We started initially with just an audio conference, so Televisit has the ability to call out to their phones as well, so we can actually start engaging them right away and then delivering their tablets later. One of the things that self-help told us is that we are not allowed to enter their homes. And so what we do is we bring the tablet to the doorstep, step away about 10 to 20 feet, call them and say, can you pick up the tablet and plug it in? And that's the only thing they need to do. You're done with the installation. What's really encouraging is because our focus is on creating community and creating that group dynamic, is just within a month, the groups are starting to gel. They're really having a good time, and to the point where they don't want to miss any sessions at all. We run 2 sessions every week, and we've had a really strong response for that. In terms of the content, we had to take all the content we had and translate it to Mandarin, specifically traditional Chinese, because this is the group that still spoke and read traditional Chinese from 40 to 50 years ago. Bingo, obviously, no problem. We had to translate the photos and announcements in a frame. So every weekend I'm busy working on that. I don't actually speak, read, or write much Mandarin. So Google Translate is my friend. And then I have our hosts basically make sure that my translations are not too weird. Some of the other things we've done, Chinese proverbs, festivals, celebrations. We actually did something on Cantonese opera where we played something off the internet. They really loved it. It brought back many memories because they haven't heard about these in decades. Finally, I just wanted to share with you some of the things in our discussions about the whole Asian hate situation. Now, of course, we didn't call it Asian hate. We didn't call it anti-Asian. We call it, what does it mean to live as being an Asian in America? And so we said, tell us about some of the good things since you came to America. Tell us about some of your challenges. Tell us about discrimination events that you might have. And we really got them to open up. So we've conducted the first of 8 sessions that we're going to be doing this. And it turns out, of course, the major issue most of them had was a language barrier, since most of them don't speak English, even though they've been here for up to 50 years. The Asian culture, and particularly the ones who came decades ago, is they don't make any waves, and therefore they don't report anything. So a lot of the Asian hate cases that you see in San Francisco that may seem like there's a lot are way underreported. In one particular case, one participant reported, and this was some time ago, that he actually got physically beaten up and chased by a teenager and was injured, but he decided he wasn't going to go and get treated because he was afraid of the medical cost. And obviously he did not report it to anyone. And that's the general philosophy. They still don't want to report. So one of the things we're going to teach them is, how do you actually identify some of these issues and report them? Particularly, we're working with Self-Help, the organization, to see if they would be willing to help take some of these reports and then report them generally to San Francisco agencies. Many of them, basically, they just avoid going out and keep to themselves. So they're really quite invisible. And if any of them get discrimination or attack, a lot of times they will blame themselves. One even said, quote, "I'm useless. There's nothing I can do," which is really sad. These are people who've been through a tremendously tough time, sacrificed a huge amount over the decades, and they are important citizens in our community. We're going to talk to them about how not to be a victim. And some of them very positively said, well, it's important to learn English. Manners are important to avoid discrimination. For the most part, we are very encouraged that most of them are taking a very positive approach to this whole issue and not blaming anyone except themselves. One of the things we heard is they enjoy the freedom so much. Again, many of them escaped communist China. They enjoy the freedom so much. And one of them even said the fresh air in the US, that they don't mind the little issues that they face here, like Asian hate and discrimination. This is nothing compared to some of the hardships that they've gone through. So some learning there that we've learned. Anyway, we do want to continue to work with them, hopefully that they can share more of the stories and create relationships with each other. Thank you.